doing well out there? Welcome back to another week of Premiership predictions. We are now into game week 20, so just gone past halfway stage of the season now. Last week's games, I got 7 points, so I got 4 correct results and 1 perfect score. The perfect score that I got right was I went for Brentford 2, Bournemouth 0. So not great, but not bad either. Of course, that I had an extra 3 games as well. For a few teams that you had to catch up on some games during the midweeks. There were more games as well to predict. So as every week, it's always hard sometimes to predict some games. Sometimes there's some shocks, and 7 points is what I got last week. One result I didn't get right, and I'm actually happy I didn't get right. Was Manchester United 2, Man City 1. I went for a 1-1 draw, which wouldn't have been a bad result. I would have probably taken that, but honestly, to get the win against City, I'm not gonna lie, I've been buzzing for past few days. I wouldn't say the week, just because of course we dropped points against Palace in midweek, which was very frustrating. Especially if it was in the last minute. But up until then, I was really happy, and it's definitely great to be a Manchester United fan at the moment. But we've got another big game this weekend against Arsenal, but I'll talk about that more when I do that prediction later on. Let's get on to this week's games. So the first game to kick off this weekend is a massive game, a game that's always had some great battles in the past, and that's Liverpool versus Chelsea. Normally these two teams are fighting for at least the top 4, even the title. But right now, they're well adrift of that top 4. They're both 10 points off the top 4, both on 28 points. Liverpool in 9th, Chelsea in 10th. So very surprising how these two teams are doing this season. And they both really need to put a run together. Starting with this game, because right now I really can't see them getting to that top 4 this season. And I think the problem for both these two teams is they're not being able to put a consecutive wins together. They're going win 1, lose 1, and it's just not going well for either of these two teams. And I think this game, as I said, it's always had some great battles, and it's always had some great moments, some great goals. But I think this game might be a bit edgy. I think neither team really can afford to lose this game, but both really need to win. So I think it'll be very interesting how this game plans out. I think out of the two teams, I think Liverpool for me are the team that I feel like can go on a run when they get it going. They have lost their last 2 though, I think there'll be quite a lot of pressure if they don't win this game. But for Chelsea as well, I think we all know, of course, with Chelsea, if you don't get into that top 4 or don't win a trophy, even when you do win a trophy, you can get the sack. So I think there's more pressure on Chelsea, Chelsea's manager, to get the sack than Liverpool. I think Liverpool, they've done really well in the past few years, going for the title, because they won the title, won the Champions League. So I feel like Klopp's under a bit less pressure, but still, I think they really do need to start get some wins together. There's always that a story that that 7th year for Klopp, he always ends up leaving. So could this be the year that maybe he does leave? Maybe he feels like he's taken this team as far as he can. Only time will tell. Maybe at the end of the season, maybe we'll know more, depending on where they finish and how well they do, maybe in the cup competitions as well. So anyway, my prediction for this game, I got a feeling that just because Liverpool got home advantage in this one, they might just sneak it. I think it'll be close, just 1 goal in it. I'm going to go with Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1. The next game is Bournemouth up against Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth coming into this game on the back of 4 defeats in a row, and they're slowly getting closer to that bottom 3, just 1 point at the moment off it. And they really need to get some wins on the board soon to make sure they're not getting to that bottom 3. I feel like if they get into that bottom 3, it'll be quite hard for them to get out. So this will be a game they'll feel like they can win. But up against a Forest team who have been on a great run, currently now out the bottom three by 5 points, which is a remarkable actually story, because at the start of the season they couldn't really win many games. They were 20th for a long time, and then just before the World Cup they of course beat Liverpool, and then since the World Cup they've had some good results as well. So they're quite in a good position at the moment, 13th. As I said, 5 points off the bottom three, so it's going well from them. So this game, says Forest will win because the form guide, but this is Premier League. Doesn't always go by the form book. Bournemouth won this last game early on in the season. They won it by 3-2, and they'll feel like they can win this game. They'll feel like this could be the game maybe that can change their season. They can get a win here, maybe they can go on a run and try and get away from that bottom three. Tough one to predict this, but I'm going to sit on the fence actually. I'm going to go with Bournemouth 2, Forest 2. So the next game is Leicester up against Brighton. Leicester are another team that are in really bad form, lost their last 4 games, and only currently a couple of points away from that bottom three. So they really badly need to win in this game. But this won't be an easy game. Brighton are in great form, won their last 2, including of course last week's great win 3-0 against Liverpool, and they're currently in 7th, having a great season. Despite losing their manager, the new manager's come in, and they play some great football, got some great results, and they'll feel like they can maybe get into Europe this year, which would be a great achievement for a team like Brighton. And they'll go to Leicester full of confidence. They beat them early on in the season, 5-2 that game, and I think they'll do a double over them. Actually, I'm going to go with another win with Brighton. I'm going to go with Leicester 1, Brighton 3. So the next game is Southampton up against Aston Villa. Southampton had a great win away to Everton last week, but they are still bottom of the table. But they did close the gap on the two teams above them, so it was a great result from them, which last week actually stopped their 6-game losing streak, so it was a really crucial win. And depending on how results go this weekend, if they can win and results go their way, they could find themselves out of the bottom three by the end of the weekend. They actually started to pick up some great results actually, not just in the league of course, they won that game last week, but also they've won 2 games in the Cup. They qualified to the Carabao Cup semi-final by beating Man City, and then also in the FA Cup as well. So it's been a good week or so for Southampton, some great wins, so they'll be a bit more confident now coming into this game against an Aston Villa team who been up and down this season. They're currently in 11th, kind of mid-table, which I think they'll probably finish this season. Because they kind of haven't put a run together. They win one, lose one, just not be able to really put wins together to get them up that table. Maybe I thought that this season maybe they could even fight for Europe, but I think right now mid-table is probably where they're going to finish. They are actually in the last 3 games here haven't lost a game. They've won 2 and drawn 1, so on an okay run forward at the moment. I'm sure the manager will want to start picking up maybe 3 or 4 wins on the bounce. This game will be a tough one, as you know. Southampton just picked up some form of late, but I've got a feeling for this one that Aston Villa might win this one. I'm going to go with Southampton 1, Aston Villa 2. So the next game, and it's a massive game at the bottom of the table, it's West Ham in 18th against Everton in 19th. These two teams are level on points, 15 points each, just 1 point away from the bottom 3, so they're not cut adrift, but they're both in really bad form. None of them have won in their last 7 games in the league, which is really bad for for 2 big teams. These 2 massive clubs that normally in the top half of the table, or mid-table or worse. But Everton now have actually been down in the relegation battle last year as well, and I thought this season maybe they would have been out of it and they would be fine, but it's not going well at all for them. Both these managers are under a lot of pressure to get a win here. I feel like if one of these 2 teams loses this game, I feel like that could be the end for David Moyes or Frank Lampard. I really do feel like this game is that crucial that a manager could lose his job, after this game. So yeah, it's really important for both these two teams really. Everton, probably actually even worse, because they've had problems not just on the pitch, also off the pitch, of course, with the owners, which is not going to help. When you've got all that going on off the pitch, it's not going to help the players. So I feel like this is it's a massive game. This really is. Really, this could kickstart their season. If one of these two teams get a win, maybe this could be the start of their season, and they can go from here and try and get away from that bottom three. It's going to be a really nervy game. I think it'll be very close. I think both teams, can't afford to lose this game. Really can't. So I can't see many goals. None of these two teams do score a lot of goals anyway. But I feel like this game, I can't really see many goals in it. I think it'll be 1-0 to one of the two teams. It was 1-0 actually last time as well. On that occasion, early on in the season, it was 1-0 to Everton. I'm going to go the same scoreline, but I'm going to go the other way around this time. I'm going to go West Ham 1, Everton 0. The next game is Crystal Palace in 12th against Newcastle in 4th. Crystal Palace only 1 win in 5, but they did get a crucial point in midweek against my team, of course, scoring in the last minute. So that was a great point for them. But apart from that, though, it's been a kind of up and down season. Mid-table is kind of where I expect them to be this season. At the end, I think they're too good to be in a relegation battle, but then also I don't think they're good enough to be in European positions. So I feel like where they are now, if they get top half, I think that'll be really good. If they finish like 9th or 10th, I think that'll be really good. But yeah, I think they're going to be. I think that's where they are now in 12th is roughly where they're going to finish this season, which is not bad for a team like Crystal Palace. Not one of the biggest teams, of course, in the league, and I'm sure that's where they'll finish this season. Newcastle, though, they've got higher expectations this season now. Of course, still in the top 4. They are now 4th, of course, because my Manchester United, of course, won last week to go into 3rd. But still, Newcastle having a great season, and of course, a great win last week at Fulham. Which didn't play that well. Of course, we were quite lucky with Fulham missing a penalty, but sometimes you need that luck. And they got it last week, and it shows even when they don't play that well, they can still win, which is it's great to have. In a team, you don't play well but still come away with the 3 points. And I feel like they'll come into this game. I think they'll be favourites, of course, and they'll feel like they can go there and get another win. Early on in the season, this was actually a 0-0 draw. I think it was a very frustrating game for Newcastle. I think they actually created a lot of chances, just couldn't score though. So they'll want to make sure they put their chances away this time, and I think they will. My score prediction for this one, I'm going to go with Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle 2. So the next game is Leeds in 14th against Brentford in 8th. Leeds are coming into this game in not great form at all. No wins in 5, and even though they are away from that bottom 3 at the moment, if they don't start picking up some results soon, they could get dragged into that bottom 3 and be in a relegation fight this season. For Brentford, though, they're having a great season. Won their last 3 games and unbeaten in 7 as well. So yeah, it's been great for a team like Brentford. Picked up some great wins this season. And I think the manager's doing a terrific job there, and they'll come into this game confident that they get another win. They beat Leeds early on in the season. That was 5-2, and I feel like they'll go to Leeds and win again. I'm going for Leeds 1, Brentford 2. So the next game is Manchester City up against Wolves. Man City bounced back after last week's derby defeat with a 4-2 win over Tottenham in midweek. Didn't make it easy for themselves, did they, though? Coming back from 2-0 down, but showed great character and fight in the second half to turn that around. That puts them in second place, 5 points behind Arsenal. If they can win this game before Arsenal play, it puts a bit of pressure on them, makes a gap to 2 points, and then Arsenal have to go and do their job, of course. in the later game. Wolves are in 16th at the moment, so just outside the bottom three. Got a good win last week against West Ham. I feel like the problem this season for Wolves is scoring goals. They are the lowest scorers this season with 12 goals, and I feel like if they don't sort that out, either the new signing who they've got, if he starts scoring goals, or maybe they'll get someone else in. If they don't know, I feel like this could be a really hard season for Wolves, and I feel like they could actually go down. I think it's going to be close. They've got some decent players actually. Neves, Matinho, all like decent players, but I think that, as I said, the problem is been scoring goals, and that could be the downfall for them this season. This game early on in the season was 3-0 to Manchester City, and I think this will be the same scoreline in this game. I'm going with Man City 3, Wolves 0. So on to the biggest game of the weekend, of course. It's Arsenal, top of the table, up against my team, Manchester United, who are in third and 8 points behind Arsenal. I feel like, if we're going to be in a chance of winning this title, I feel like we have to go to Arsenal and win this game. I feel like, because 8 points in the moment, Arsenal, of course, have that game in hand, and Arsenal have only lost one game this season, and I can't see them, losing too many for the rest of the season, and they still got to play Man City twice. But I feel like, we're not going to win every game, so I feel like if we're going to have a chance at that title this year, I feel like we have to go there and win. A draw is actually not a bad result, but if we really believe we can actually win this league this year, then we have to go there and win. But the thing is, at the start of the season, I didn't have no expectations for us to finish in the top of the table, especially after the two games at the start of the season when we lost, of course, to Brighton and Brentford. For me, it was get a trophy and top four, and I would have been happy with that. But I think after last week's win now against Man City, the expectations are a lot higher. It was a disappointing result in midweek, of course, against Crystal Palace. But still though, we were on a great run. We're still 10 games unbeaten, and we were going to drop points at some point. Out of these 3 games, you would have probably thought it'd be City or Arsenal. It came against Crystal Palace, and I always felt like that game is it was always going to be a tough game, and if we can go to Arsenal and get 7 points, get 3 points, that makes us 7 points in a week, which I would have taken before the City game. Maybe it would have been maybe the other way round. Maybe you would have said like beat Palace, beat Arsenal, and draw against City or something. But either way, if we can go to Arsenal, get a win, then maybe we could win the title. I still feel like even if we go to Arsenal, I still feel like it's going to be really hard. I feel like the team is building, and I feel like under this manager we will win the title. I'm sure of that. Where it might not be this season, but I really do believe that we've got a great chance with this manager. He's getting the best out of these players, and for me, he's been the best manager since Alex Ferguson, without a doubt. And I'm very confident that he's the manager to bring back the good times at Manchester United. This is, I think, a massive game, and we're going into the game without one of our key players, of course, Casemiro. It's a massive loss, and someone's going to have to come in there and try and do his job, but of course you can't replace Casemiro, so someone's going to have to come in and try and not do. Well, I can't do it. As I say, can't do Casemiro's job, but try and at least do something to stop Arsenal, because they're in great form, and of course Odegaard is one of the informed players in the league at the moment, and Casemiro against him would have been a good battle. So who will come in? Would it be Fred? Would it be McTominay? They're the obvious choices, of course, because they both play in that position. But I would actually go with Martinez. I think Martinez would love that battle. I would play him there. That CDM. He's played there before, not for Manchester United, of course, but the manager has this season already, of course, with Luke Shaw at centre back. He's tried different things, and I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez actually plays CDM in this game. I feel like he's someone that can control Odegaard probably more than maybe a McTominay or a Fred. So that's what I would do. It'd be very interesting to see what he does in this game. But we have to go into the game with confidence. We have to go in there despite that draw midweek. We can go there, play like we can. If Rashford, Fernandes, play like they have been. Wan-Bissaka's been brilliant since he came back to the team. Luke Shaw, of course, Varane. We've got a great chance to beat Arsenal, but it will be a tough game. I really believe, Arsenal have actually surprised me. I'm not going to lie. At the start of the season, I didn't think they would be anywhere near the top four. I thought, they'd be like fifth or sixth, but fair play to them. They've done well, and, keep on going, keep putting wins together. Only lost one game this season, which of course came against us in the early on of the season. So, fair play to them. I'm not going to lie. If Manchester United actually don't win the league this season, I'd rather Arsenal win over Man City. Without a doubt, I don't want, Man City winning it. So if we can't win it, for me, Arsenal, I want Arsenal to win the league. But obviously, this game, I want Manchester United to beat them. And I think we've got a good chance of getting the win. But my prediction, I'm going to be honest, I would love to come on here every week and say Manchester United are going to win. Of course, last week I said draw, and again I'm going to go for a draw. Actually, this one, I'm going to go with Arsenal 1, Manchester United 1. So the last game of the weekend is Fulham in 6 against Tottenham, just above them in 5th. Fulham are having a great season, one of the surprising teams of the season, and just great, for the managers, the players, the fans must be loving life at the moment. For a team that's just got promoted, I feel like, the first thing you do when you get promoted is probably feel like, let's stay in the league, let's get to that 40-point mark. But Fulham, have just gone well above that, and if they actually win this game, they actually go above Tottenham into 5th, which is remarkable. They did lose last time out, of course, to Newcastle, but they played really well. Of course, missed a penalty, so scored that penalty. They could have actually got a win in that game. So unlucky on that game, but they did have 4 wins on the bounce before that, so they'll still come into this game full of confidence, and they'll feel like they can beat Tottenham side, who of course lost their last 2 games. The North London derby last week, where I thought they were really poor, and then of course they let that 2-0 lead slip against Man City in midweek, which is actually been the opposite this season for Tottenham. Normally they're going 2-0 down and coming back to either get a draw or even a win. But of course midweek they went 2-0 up. They played pretty well in the first half, but then of course Man City came back and turned around and got the win. But Tottenham really need to get a win here. They don't want 3 losses on the bounce. If they do, the manager will be under a lot of pressure. They are just outside now the top 4, 5 points, and they want to make sure that gap doesn't get bigger. Otherwise, it could be a big ask for them to get into that top 4 this season. I feel like this will be a very close game. I see a few goals actually this game. I've got a feeling this might be a good game. My score prediction, I'm going to go with, I was thinking Fulham, but I might just go for a draw. Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go with Fulham 2, Tottenham 2. So that's all my Premiership predictions for this game week. Hopefully it's another great week with lots of goals and lots of talking points. And of course, most importantly, Manchester United grab another 3 points. If that happens, I'll be buzzing just like I was last week. But in the meantime, whether you're going to a game or you're just watching it at home, have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.